to assess the well-being of democracy and good governance in the West African sub-region. At WADR, we are more committed to strengthening good governance and civil rights in a sub-region where democracy faces several challenges. Make it a date with us on Citizens Hour, Saturday, August 31, 2024, to listen to the first debate. Citizens Hour is your revamped weekly top news. Citizens Hour, your space for democratic debates.
For any cackle, a giggle, or a baby's laugh. Whatever the type of laughter.
WADR 94.9 FM is for you.
Is for you.
Monday to Sunday.
It's hard to explain, okay? But
All day. All year round.
it's so mysterious.
This is who we are.
This is who we are.
WADR.
WADR, promoting dialogue. It's May there in Dakar, 1 p.m. in Abuja. Good afternoon and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa, the Democracy Radio broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on WADR.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. Inflammatory speech heightens political tensions in Ghana ahead of the December 7 general polls. Analysts caution against the phenomena. At least 15 dead and several displaced amid severe flooding in many parts of the Malian capital, Bamako.
We're currently working on a solution to drain the water. The entire neighborhood has come together to help drain the water that has flooded the entire area.
Nigerian medical doctors protest the kidnapping of their colleagues.
She's somebody's daughter. She's a wife. She's a mother. She's a sister. She's a friend. So I'm calling on the government to do something.
And ECOWAS completes disaster risk assessment in the Gambia. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is Augustine Coley with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast and welcome to our listeners in the Gambia, Ghana, Liberia, and Sierra Leone. This edition begins in the Sahel region, particularly in Mali, where the country is battling severe flooding as the rainy season persists. Several neighborhoods in the capital Bamako have been flooded, with central regions of the country being the hardest hit. In the usually dry northern region, the city of Gao has also been experiencing floods over the past few days following heavy rains late last week. The flooding has caused significant material damage and displaced many residents. Nadia Titi has the details.
Since the heavy rains last Friday, many areas in the Gao region have become difficult to navigate. Access to the city center remains blocked due to flooded streets. In the 4th district of Gao, Yusuf Musa Meiga has been using a motor pump to try and drain water from the streets in his neighborhood.
We're currently working on a solution to drain the water. The entire neighborhood has come together to help drain the water that has flooded the entire area.
The torrential rains have also led to the collapse of several houses. Many families, now homeless, have sought refuge in vacant schools within the city. Since the beginning of the rainy season, various regions in Mali have been affected by floods. In its latest report a few days ago, the Interministerial Committee for Crisis and Disaster Management reported 15 deaths and over 10,000 displaced persons in August alone.
Nadia Titi with details of our Bamako correspondent Aliyu Cham's report with support from Radio Nata in Gao, our partner radio station in the region. Still in Mali, Sunday, August 18, 2024 marked 4 years since the military seized power. These years have been marked by an intense struggle against violent extremist groups and a series of political, diplomatic, and socio-economic reforms, all pursued in the name of sovereignty. Alpha Abubakar of the French desk has been assessing the 4 years of military rule in Mali. Abdoulaye Hassan provides the details.
On the security front, which the military leadership prioritized, the army's most significant achievement remains the recapture of the Kidal region from separatist groups nearly a year ago. However, in their efforts to regain control of other northern areas, the Malian army and its Russian allies suffered their greatest setback in the Battle of Tizoantane in Kidal. The Malian Armed Forces FAMA incurred heavy human and material losses. Recently, during a meeting at the Ministry of Defense, Mali's High Islamic Council urged the authorities to engage in dialogue with armed groups to end the years of unending conflict. Politically, elections to return power to civilians remain elusive. After 2 postponements, the most recent citing technical reasons, there is still no electoral calendar in place. The last national consultation held in May and boycotted by most political parties recommended, among other things, extending the military transition and supporting the candidacy of transitional president Colonel Assimi Goïta. Diplomatically, relations with Western countries remain strained while Russia continues to be Bamako's main ally. Mali is preparing to exit the Western African bloc ECOWAS to solidify its new alliance with Niger and Burkina Faso under the banner of the Confederation of Sahel States AES. Socio-economically, rising living costs, an energy crisis and human rights violations condemned by various organizations are pressing concerns. Despite these challenges, the military leadership continues to call on the population for patience and sacrifice in the hope of a better future.
Abdoulaye Hassan with the details of Alpha Abubakar's report. In Burkina Faso, authorities have yet to comment on the recent attack targeting an army intervention unit in the Buku du Mohon region. Last Thursday, a unit from the Rapid Action Group for Surveillance and Intervention, GASI, was ambushed near the town of Tougan. 14 gendarmes were killed and around 15 soldiers were injured. According to a security source, the Burkinabe army managed to neutralize several of the assailants. As a reminder, GASI is a Burkinabe army unit primarily tasked with combating terrorism and organized crime in border areas.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Let's now move to Nigeria as health workers across the country held peaceful protests demanding the release of a medical doctor kidnapped 8 months ago in Kaduna, the northwest region. Dr. Gayest was adopted in December 2023, and her family and colleagues feared the worst until a recent ransom demand by her captors rekindled hopes of her survivor. From Abuja, WADR's Usma Umar tells us more.
Protesters in Kaduna and Jos carried placards calling for Dr. Ganiya's immediate release.
All we know is that we're very optimistic that she's alive and we want her back. I think that's the most important thing, so that's just the reason why we're very sure she's alive. She's alive.
She's somebody's daughter. She's a wife. She's a mother. She's a sister. She's a friend. So I'm calling on the government to do something. It is not easy. I'm very sure it is not easy for the family. It is not easy for me as a woman because I can only imagine what she's going through.
Resident doctors in Makurdi have threatened to go on strike by August 26 if their colleague remains in captivity.
We understand that she's alive. We've been having some form of communication with her, and that is the only thing that gladdens her heart, that she's not harmed yet. And we are hoping by the grace of God that within the shortest possible time she'll be released hale and hearty. And like we said earlier, if she's not, we may have no other option but to take other routes. And that may be by shutting down completely.
I can only imagine what she's going through. Dr. Ganirat is a mother, she's a wife, she's a doctor. She has been through this, and Nothing has been done about it. We are here to cry to the public. We are crying to the government to they should please help us and release Dr. Ganirat.
The protests highlight growing concerns about the safety of healthcare professionals in Nigeria, where kidnappings and violence are increasingly common. Authorities face mounting pressure to secure Dr. Ganiat's release and ensure the protection of health workers nationwide. The Nigerian Medical Association has condemned the kidnapping, urging swift action from the government. As the deadline set by resident doctors approaches, the nation waits with bated breath for Dr. Ganiat's safe return to her family and colleagues. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Omar reporting from Abuja.
A team from the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, has completed a field validation, monitoring and evaluation mission in the Gambia. The mission was led by Mohammed Ibrahim, head of Humanitarian and Disaster Risk Reduction Division at ECOWAS. The team assessed how the $954,616 allocated by ECOWAS to the Gambia as part of a large $10.16 million regional relief initiative was being utilized. This initiative is focused on providing humanitarian relief support for victims of the 2022 flood disaster and food crisis in the country. ECOWAS head of delegation, Mohammed Ibrahim, expressed satisfaction with the process observed through the assessment.
The overall assessment, although all the population in need were not being able to reach out to, but in general, our assessment is above average. We are very satisfied with what we saw on ground. You could testify to that with this intervention, and I think you agree with me with all the national newspaper report that I've seen this morning have really captured on the ground the result and outcome of this assessment. I want to say that we are very proud that the implementing partners for this project have been carefully and systematically selected, because based on their track record, the tools that we use for the implementation of this intervention, they were up to standard, and also the M&E tool that we brought with us from ECOWAS is a standardized tool, and we're very happy that the implementing partner also accepted this tool to be able to deploy the tool to the field. And
Mohammed Ibrahim is the head of the Humanitarian and Disaster Risk Reduction Division at ECOWAS. We continue in the Gambia because the International Organization for Migration, IOM, has awarded grants worth over $50,000 to 25 young Gambian entrepreneurs. This initiative, known as Sinem Arena, is a collaboration between IOM Gambia, the Ministry of Trade, Industry, Regional Integration and Employment, and the National Youth Council. The program aims to tackle unemployment and discourage illegal migration. During a ceremony in Banjul, the Sinem Arena grants were officially handed over to the 25 entrepreneurs. Our Banjul correspondent Sankule Janko has more in this report.
The project Dope Cinema Arena aims to empower the youth and at-risk communities, particularly those facing high unemployment, low income and poverty, through the provision of grants under the framework of socio-economic empowerment to address irregular migration. Emmanuel Movisi is the head of mission for IOM Gambia.
The vision for the project is that we support the communities to address the issues of irregular migration. And there's a beneficiary from every region of the country. 13 out of the 25 beneficiaries are women-owned. Furthermore, the businesses are startups and existing initiatives.
The project targets persons who form the majority of Gambians that embark on irregular migration. The director of the National Youth Council, Alhaji Jaju, urged the beneficiary entrepreneurs to make best use of the opportunity.
Many people applied for the grant, as you have been told, 400 applied, and only 25 of you have been awarded. This speaks volume of your ability and certainly your credibility. And a lot is definitely expected from you as ambassadors.
The beneficiaries expressed their gratitude and are assured that they would use the grants wisely. Hadi Baji spoke on their behalf.
We are particularly grateful for the focus on empowering young people and women. Your commitment to fostering opportunities for these groups will undoubtedly create a ripple effect that will benefit the generations to come. We promise to make most of this opportunity and uphold the trust you have placed in us.
The Sine Marina grant is awarded to 25 youth-owned viable business ideas and startups from across the country to boost such initiatives. The project also aims to encourage young Gambians to venture into local businesses with the goal of discouraging irregular migration. For Newslink on West Africa Democrats Radio, I'm Sankule Janko reporting from Banjul.
In Ghana, the governing New Patriotic Party (NPP) and the opposition National Democratic Congress (NDC) are currently embroiled in a heated exchange of inflammatory rhetoric. Comments from leading members of the NPP, with the Agri Minister Brian Ajipon being the most recent, suggested that the party will resort to every means possible to win the December 7 polls. The opposition NDC, on the other hand, says it is determined to counter the ruling party's attempts to clinch to power. WADR's Christopher Aticho has more in the following report.
Inflammatory speeches by leading figures of the two major political parties in the country, the New Patriotic Party, the NPP, and the National Democratic Congress, the NDC, have become a common characteristic of the country's elections. Research indicates that such provocative speeches can fan tensions and potentially lead to violence, as evidenced in past electoral cycles. As the 2024 presidential elections approach, the same phenomenon has reared its head. President Akufo-Addo set the tone in May 2024 when the president said he cannot hand over to someone he once defeated, referring to John Dramani Mahama, the NDC flag bearer. It raised eyebrows among many democratic watchers.
I cannot hand over to someone who isn't pleased by anything I do. He will just come and destroy what I've built.
Adding fuel to fire, Minister for Agriculture and NPP Member of Parliament for Abetifi, Brian Champon, boldly declared at a rally in Nsawam in the eastern region that the party will resort to every means possible to win the elections.
NDC for power. Whether the NDC likes it or not, they will never win the 2024 general elections. Ours is to win the election through every means possible.
National Youth Organizer of the NDC, George Opariado Jr., also responded by stating that while the party is committed to peace, it will not tolerate violence against its members in the upcoming elections. Security analyst Adib Sani believes the utterances of the leading figures in the two major political parties can worsen the already tensed up atmosphere ahead of the December polls.
I think it's tantamount to a declaration of war, and it's really disturbing. I would urge the police to invite him.
For WADR, I am Christopher Aticho.
Thanks to Christopher Aticho for that report. You are listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Inflammatory speech heightens political tensions in Ghana ahead of December 7 polls. Analysts caution against the phenomena. At least 15 dead and several displaced amid severe flooding in many parts of the Malian capital, Bamako. Nigerian medical doctors protested the kidnapping of their colleagues. Still ahead, Liberian President Bouakai reaffirms his government's commitment to upholding free press in the country. We do have the press review, guest interview, and the sports news. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Thanks for being with us. And as a reminder, we stream live on YouTube at WADR and Facebook, WADR English Service. Liberian President Joseph Bouakai has reaffirmed his government's commitment to upholding and promoting a vibrant and free press in the country. The Liberian leader spoke during the weekend at a groundbreaking ceremony for the construction of a modern radio and television station. WADR Salington Pogba has more.
President Joseph Boakai said a vibrant free press as well as unfettered expression of views and access to information about the governance of the country are essential elements fundamental to any thriving democracy. He said the project, when completed, will not only empower citizens with knowledge they need, but also foster a well-informed society, which is a cornerstone of a healthy and participatory democracy.
Indeed, we all agree that this is a momentous occasion for Liberia as we gather to celebrate the groundbreaking of a transformative project that has such great potential to shift the outlook and the future of our dear nation. We do this here today with a consummate of the nation and much anticipation that this edifice will rise from the ground here and will carry so much potential to positively impact our population.
Chinese ambassador to Liberia Yen Shenhua used his speech to highlight the improved relations between Liberia and China since the restoration of peace to Liberia in 2005 following the end of the decade-long civil war.
China-Liberia cooperation has been steadily growing. I'm sure this project will further enhance mutual understanding, friendship, and cooperation between our two countries. China is advancing Chinese modernization by further deepening reform comprehensively, and Liberia is advancing modernization through the arrested agenda. China and Liberia will be good partners on the way to realize modernization through mutual support and alignment of the development strategy.
The Liberian leader insists such a partnership is a clear example of how global cooperation can support national development goals and create lasting positive impacts. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Darlington Pogba in New Monrovia.
This is the newspaper review. Stay abreast and find out what the top stories are in your country.
This is the newspaper review.
The newspaper review. Let's rejoin Usman Umar in the Nigerian capital Abuja for a review of the local dailies.
This is the press review coming to you from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We begin with the Guardian newspaper, leading with this story. Fuel queues linger as traders await Dangote NNPC Limited refineries. Let's now go over to the Leadership newspaper, and Leadership is leading with this story. 1 year after, food insecurity persists despite state of emergency. Food and Agricultural Organization projects 31.5 million Nigerians at risk of acute hunger. Stakeholders call for more aggressive approach. Above the masthead of the Leadership, you have Constitution, not Nigeria's problem. Sule Lamido, a former governor of Jigawa State, is talking there. And he is saying that contrary to the position of many lawyers in Nigeria, that 1999 Constitution of Nigeria as amended is an issue. But the former governor is saying that Constitution is not the problem of Nigeria. I'm not contesting for president in 2027. Ganduje, that is Umar Abdullahi Ganduje, who is now the APC national chairman, that is All Progressives Congress chairman, the ruling party in Nigeria, is saying that contrary to reports in mainstream and social media, he is not contesting for presidency come 2027. And finally, from this end, don't blame leaders. IBB tells Nigerians. IBB is General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, the only military president in Nigeria who is now retired and, of course, very tired in his home country in Minna. Is telling Nigerians, and this was from his birthday message when he clocked 84. He is saying that Nigerians shouldn't blame their leaders, rather they should pray for their guidance instead. And that's the much we have for you on this segment of Press Review. It's back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Usman, for the Press Review.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
What our guest segment this afternoon focuses on the 4 years military rule of Mali's junta leader Colonel Assimi Goita. These years have been marked by an intense struggle against violent extremist groups and a series of political, diplomatic and socio-economic reforms, all pursued in the name of sovereignty. Mamadou Cho is a political analyst. He provides an assessment of the 4 years military rule in Mali.
Anniversary is very hard for activists in Mali because those who are criticizing those who are in charge are put in jail or we are a bit in a dictatorship, which is not a thing people were expecting, because when Assimi Goïta took over the president Bandao, who took over the democratically elected president Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta, they promised to bring back democracy, and that's what we are not seeing right now. Most of the time, the transition process is very short when there is a military coup d'etat, but 4 years is too long. And the last time the military took over, it was less than 2 years. And then in 1991, when Amadou Toumani Touré made his coup d'etat, it was just after 1 year he gave the power back to the civilians.
In terms of returning to democratic rule, organizing peaceful and uninterrupted elections, what do you foresee in the coming years?
Everything can happen because, some are suspecting, Assimi Goïta, the military in charge right now, that he will try to be a candidate for the coming presidential election. Nobody knows. They promised not to do that, but, the more you stay in power, the more you want it. And that's the threat which can be due to the Mali democracy, because, this military, their place is not, ruling. They have to go and take care of security issues and let the civilians, rule the country.
Now with plans by these AES or Sahelan countries to leave the ECOWAS bloc come 2025, what do you think will be the next move of Assimi Goïta when it comes to leaving power or being in power through military rule?
I think what the Senegal is trying to do with our President Bassirou Diomaye Faye, try to talk to them, to dim down with this decision of leaving ECOWAS and go with the AES. We can try to see maybe a kind of success in this kind of mediation, because I think the best thing Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso to stay in the ECOWAS zone and bring back reform in the way it is handled.
Mamadou Cho is a political analyst. And here is Sankule Janko with sports.
Hello there, welcome and thank you for joining us. Nigeria's Edo Queens have advanced to the semi-finals of the WAFU CAF Women's Champions League qualification tournament after a narrow 1-0 victory over AO Itensel on match day 3 of Group B. The decisive moment of the game came in the 41st minute when Joy Jory capitalized on a goalkeeping blunder to score the only goal of the game, securing Edo Queens' third consecutive win in the group stage. AO Itensel entered the second half with a renewed determination but were unable to break through Edo Queen's defense, with Ijoma Uzuma leading a resolute backline that successfully shut down their attacking efforts. Despite the loss, AO Itensel's earlier performances in the tournament were enough to see them through the semi-finals. Nigerian side Edo topped Group B with a perfect 9 points from 3 matches, while AO Itensels progressed as the runners-up with 4 points, edging out competition on goal difference. In the other fixtures, Ghana's Hasakas ladies delivered a commanding 6-1 victory over AS Garad National of Niger. Hakasas needed a wide margin of victory to secure a spot in the semi-finals, but ultimately fell short due to goal differences. Fatuma Tombura set the tone for Hakasas with an early strike in the 16th minute, followed by goals from Grace Amina and Comfort Owusu, giving the Ghanaian side a 3-1 lead at half-time. Despite valiant efforts, which include a hard trick from Comfort Owusu and a late goal by Abigail Sakiwa, Hasaka's hopes were dazzled by AO Essentials' advancement according to CAF official website. Looking ahead, the semi-final fixtures will see Edo Queens clash with FC Inter Abidjan of Cote d'Ivoire, while AO Itensel will face Anowi FC on Tuesday, August 20, 2024. And that's it for sports. It's back to you.
We've come to the end of this edition of Newslink on West Africa, the Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek for the technical assistance. Do interact with us via our social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook, WADR English Service. I am Augustine Kali. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, Newmi FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County.
Radio Kagama 94.5 FM, Nibe County, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riverside County, Wakat FM Radio, Banga, Liberia, Radio Gulf FM 91.3 Sierra Leone.
For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.